How goes the family? Welcome back to Larry's Anything Goes. Hopefully you guys are having a great evening. Another weekend down. Got a lot accomplished, so I'm definitely happy about that. Figured I'd just come on here for a little bit on Instagram and see what the deal is. I'm actually loving the new background. I'm going to use this background in a minute. Okay, so this is at daytime, this is at night. So, okay, cool. Loving every moment of it. But anyways, great weekend. Got things done. Got things put into perspective. Actually got more content put out there, even more so this weekend than normal for a weekend. So I was happy about that. Learned actually some interesting things about Bitcoin more so, and even the futuristic aspects of future cities. You know, it's one because a lot of the nonsense and the minutia that we saw put out on social media this weekend about Drake and Lil Wayne, Nicki Minaj putting an album or song out. Don't care. It doesn't do nothing for me. But I do find it very interesting that we are living in a time where not only currency is becoming digital, more so with the cryptocurrencies, all the aspects of cryptocurrencies, but future towns and cities will be actually made up of corporations and have their own government. If you've noticed, the state of Nevada has worked out deals because they have states like Nevada, New Mexico, and Arizona still have a lot of land, especially given the fact that they have a lot of land that's actually owned by the federal government. So it's actually interesting. But heck, even Texas still has a lot of land but West Texas has a lot of land that's just, nobody's, that basically they're giving away. And obviously if you have the right plans, the right money, the right amount of building mentality, there's a lot of parts of the U.S. that's going to be bought. It's starting off with Nevada, but I can just see a lot of parts of the U.S. are actually going to be bought by corporations. And a lot of states are just going to be like, yeah, have at it, create your own corporate government, create your own, and a lot of these places will actually most likely utilize cryptocurrency as their only form of currency. You just never know. So it's actually, like I said, whatever side you're on, that's the side you're on. I just find it to be very interesting, all the stuff that's happening right now. And I don't think it's talked about enough in the media, and that's why I'm bringing it up. I'm going to do more of a deeper dive into it in regards to the whole Nevada thing, because I could just see more and more states doing this, working in conjunction with private industries. Basically, because you had these group of people that, and they were African Americans, and I love that they actually got together and bought a whole town down in Georgia last year. So I think you're going to see more of that happening now because just like, and it's nothing new because if you think about it, you've had a lot of, and you see a lot of this in upstate New York and California, and I know you have this in every state in America, so it's not limited to those specific states, but it's very, what we know as gated communities. I'm actually starting to understand why people want to pay the extra money to live in gated communities, because no reasonable person wants to live in a neighborhood where people don't care about how the neighborhood looks, where there's trash and garbage, where there's crime, where there's, people that, living next door to people that have a nothing to lose mentality and whatnot, and think that being cool and getting high and drunk is the norm. I think most reasonable people don't want to live around that. So I get why people want to live in their own gated communities, And I'm even getting now why people are buying their own communities, if you really think about it, or why people are, setting up their own towns and whatnot. Heck, I'm going to start doing a little bit more reading upon what's happening with the whole, exploration in space with the Jeff Bezoses and the Elon Musks of the world, because I just find it to be fascinating. So I'm going to do more of a deeper dive into that. And, we see that there's a time frame where you're not only going to see more corporate communities, because I know Bill Gates has done this in Arizona, where people and corporations are, creating their own smart cities, as they're known. And I think we're going to see more smart colonies in the future. My prediction is it 100% accurate? No. But my prediction is you're most likely going to see corporate colonies created in space. And everybody's got, and it's no big secret. You got the space exploration going on, and if you grew up watching space movies and television shows, a lot of that stuff is coming to fruition right now. So it just makes it a very interesting time that we're living in, and that's why I said it's like the smart people aren't the ones listening to what's always being fed to them, but they're actually listening to believing in what they're seeing. Especially if you work in a specific industry that deals with these kind of things, you're going to say to yourself, "Oh, this is very interesting. That's happening." So it's like when you kind of block out who's the next NFL draft pick for such and such, and all this other crap that means nothing to most working people, you actually, or it's like you're able to actually say to yourself, now this is what's actually more important. They're going to feed me this information, but this is the information that's more important. If you notice what other industries that are booming right now, and I always implore people to just Google yourself and look and see not only what jobs are in demand, because even if whether you work for somebody or you work for yourself, see what jobs are in demand, and then you see what kind of businesses are in demand. You Google the kind of industries that are in high demand right now. Well, that's going to possibly be in high demand in the future, and then you go from there. You know what I mean? You figure out certain things, you execute, find out mentorship, get specific training. I mean, a lot of people are killing it in, transportation industry. People are forming their own transportation companies. People are forming their own app creation companies, marketing companies, from their cell phone to their home, from anywhere and whatnot. And that's the one thing people don't understand. A lot of times, like I always say, not everybody's meant to be a homeowner. Not everybody's meant to be a business owner. A lot of people love having the opportunity to work for themselves, especially a lot of people don't mind being a renter all their life. I don't see anything wrong with it. And I know a lot of people that actually own their own business, but they rent from the property, and because they're considered quote unquote a home-based business, they get way more tax write-offs and whatnot. I'm not giving out any tax advice. I'm just talking about what other people have told me about in the research I've done on my own. Always contact a tax professional in regards to these things, and financial professionals, because I'm not either one, just going off of life experience. But I do find it very interesting that it's not going anywhere, where these smart cities and then eventually smart colonies are going to continuously be created and whatnot. What was done 20 to 30 years ago is just going to be laughed at, I believe, by 2030 to 2031. I think it's going to be normal for a corporation to own its own city. I think it's going to be normal for a state to give out its own, to work in conjunction with states work with private sector all the time, but I think it's just going to be normal for states to say, okay, well, yeah, this is your town, so therefore it's your rules. I mean, you might have to abide by specific state guidelines, but it's, this is new territory that we're going into. To ask for somebody, and then a lot of people, the idea of saying, well, hey, I'm going to live in this community that's owned by a private entity, and me not, because it's been done before. It's not that new. I mean, heck, you look at places like New York and San Francisco, where they've actually, created their own. I mean, heck, Seattle. I remember the last time I went to Seattle, this one guy was at Pike's Place, and Pike's Place is very nice. It's, great seafood, shopping, big tourist attraction and whatnot. You got ships coming in and out, of that area. And I remember the one guy, he called Amazon a government. He considers basically Amazon the government of Seattle, and when I got to see that the fact that Seattle owned a multitude of blocks, and I'm talking real estate. I'm not just talking like corporate commercial buildings. I'm talking apartment buildings. It's like, and it's the same thing. What I've done the research and what I've heard in San Francisco, corporations own specific buildings, apartment complexes and whatnot, where, it surrounds the buildings, the commercial buildings that they actually own. So they have their own gymnasiums, they have their own video games, they have their own shopping centers. They have literally, they created their own city within a city. And that's been done in California. That's been done in Seattle. I believe that's been done in certain parts of New York. And now it's going to actually be done now in regards to actually just owning their own counties, not just owning a city within a city, but actually owning their own cities within a county, or just owning their own counties. Anything wrong with that? I don't see anything wrong with that. Some people may beg to differ, and that's their personal opinion. But I'm just talking about, we are living in a time frame where this is not being discussed more so, and it's just something that's going to be the new norm for the next generations coming up. So it's, like I said, very interesting time that we're living in. And, we'll see where this train goes. It's something to continuously learn about. I mean, between that, between the digital art revolution, between cryptocurrency, it's so much to keep up with. It's insane. And even, well-to-do people like a Mark Cuban's like, yeah, that's why he says I take a lot of online classes. That's why I'm reading these books, because I'm trying to be able to stay up on what's happening so I can continuously compete, because he grew up during the Gen X time frame. So he wants to be able to be in a room with intelligent people that are in these industries and be able to contribute to the conversation intelligently. And that's why podcasts are so important. That's why continuously reading is so important, and learning is so important, because you get put in a position to where you get put in a box to where that you're not in a position to grow. That's just the best way to put it. Like a lot of people, like if you work if you work in government, a lot of times you're put in a box. If you work in the private sector, sometimes you're put into a box. If you're in a small business, sometimes you're put into a box. That's why having the opportunity to read something or listen to a podcast or something to that effect, or watch a documentary, that just takes you outside of your comfort zone. I think is very healthy for your brain and very healthy for your soul. So on that note, I'm leaving it at that. I just wanted to have my little end of the weekend rant and, just give my perspective on what I've been learning and, what I'm going to be diving into. And that's why I chose this background, because life is literally like a bird out in the ocean. You constantly have an opportunity to where you can learn. You're going to encounter specific different things, whether it's good or bad, but you are put in a position where you're going to have to learn so that you can stay alive and so that you can thrive. You know what I mean? So on that note, do the great three free things: like, share, and subscribe. Hopefully you guys have a great day. Like I said, it's a very interesting time that we're living in, and it's always nice for us to be optimistic and not pessimistic, because the pessimist sometimes is called for and the optimist is called for all at the same time. So I'd say you take a little here, you take a little there, and you mix it up, and you can create something that's beautiful, or you could create something that's destructive. That's up to you at the end of the day. But I prefer to stay on the beautiful side, because I like to keep things positive and not negative, because of, being negative it's very easy to be negative. It's very easy to be a pessimist. It's hard to be an optimist a lot of times, especially in today's world where everybody likes to thrive on the negativity and whatnot, or people thrive on, I just want to utilize you so I can get something out of you. And I think that's the biggest issue at the end of the day, because it's not just about what you want. It's about what value you can add to somebody's life at the end of the day. What value can you add, not just what value can they add to your life, But that's just my personal opinion. And that's why it's a turn off when people come to me and they're just coming because they want something from me. That's the only reason why they're contacting me. But they're not talking about adding value. They're just talking about what they can get. And in my personal opinion, you're not going to really get anywhere in life if you're just always trying to suck somebody dry as a tick. What can you bring to them, and then they can bring something to you? That's how true partnership works, in my personal opinion. So on that note, I'll see you guys later. Have a great week. Let's try to make it a great week. May's basically over with, so see you guys next time. Take care.